Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is I, Tech Plays. Here we are on another video where I'm gonna complain about something. A little bit. A lot of it. Actually, a whole lot of it. Yeah, Palworld. You've probably seen a little bit of that on Twitter. Well, you all. I know I have for sure. You probably have too. I mean, the game has, I think last time I checked, in the first 6 days, what, 8 million copies sold? Isn't that like a lot, like way more than just like a basic indie game does in its first week. Like, isn't that more than what most like higher, uh, more prestigious games would get in a week? Like, it's no Pokemon. Like that'd be crazy to say that, but like, not like it's nothing. I'm an enjoyer of YouTube. I watch people. I do stuff. There's that one puppet guy, Arlo. I'm gonna put him on the screen, probably. I'll be like, "Wah!" He has like a Splatoon 3 video that came out like a day or two ago, or three, I don't remember. And it's talking about like, oh, how he's wrong, how he was wrong about like why was that needed or whatever. I don't know. Splatoon 3 is not my uh area of expertise. Even after watching that video, that was like maybe 10 minutes. I know, crazy, right? You know, there was one statistic I felt pretty relevant to point out, and that's he brought up this article that said it took Splatoon 3 to get to 10 million sold copies, total of 3 months. It took 3 months to get to 10 million copies sold. Palworld is at 8 million copies sold in less than a week, and there's probably another post floating around soon that will be like, oh, 9 million or whatever, and sold on Steam. And that's just all the Steam sales. I think it was like what, freaking Epic Games? Wasn't it on Epic Games or something? I don't know. It was on something else that you can access it, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's crazy, right? That's crazy for a game that I feel like people shouldn't be buying with the controversies around it. But at the same time, because it has controversies around it, it's getting a lot more attention, so it makes sense. And that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about how I feel with people playing this game. How I feel about the funny, quote unquote, Pokemon but with guns. In reality, it's just, at least from what my friends have played, I'll have like, um, there's probably footage right here next to me of my good friend, Beaver's Rock, playing it on stream. It's Ark Survival if it were good, right? That's like the crazy part. Um, like yeah, it's obviously ripping off Pokemon with designs, but it's also just Ark Survival if you didn't have to spend like hours in game trying to get yourself built up enough to tame one of the little scrunglies. Because man, that's like one of the more fun parts of Ark Survival that just makes it different from like something like Minecraft is that you can like tame the animals, but it like takes forever to tame those animals, man. And it looks so bad. It looks so goofy. And admittedly, Palworld's not much better. It also looks pretty goofy, but it's supposed to look a little more goofy at least. It has that charm to it, but like, yeah, this is just an Ark survival game, but like finally executed in a way that people really needed that itch fulfilled, and there you go, you got it. And as of currently, while I'm recording this bit here, no news has been confirmed that AI art was being used, and looking at the designs, I feel like that probably didn't happen anyway. I feel like it's way too close to be just AI art. I feel like you have to intentionally design it in certain ways. Because like people were like looking at them, like if you look at like the Meganium looking thing, that's like also like kind of Gudra or whatever. Um, it's like, whoa, man, the AI art went crazy. And it's like, I don't think it did. I think at that point, I think it's just the artists just were able to take the basic designs and just mash them together. Because here's the thing, we're ripping off Pokemon, right? We're ripping off them. We're making this game solely to rip off Pokemon because probably because Sword and Shield was too safe, quote unquote, and uninteresting, and Arceus was like really close to being like this cool game, but just missing a little bit. Like if the battles are more there outside of the very last one in the game, it would have been cool because just like the concept, like having the boss fights were good and whatnot. It's just like seeing Sword and Shield because in its early development, Sword and Shield or Scarlet Violet weren't out yet. I'm not gonna assume they're making it because like Game Freak isn't making good games, or maybe they were, but probably just really just to riff off of Pokemon just so they can get a lot of attention, which fair, right? That's like fair, right? Like yeah, of course, respect like people's copyright or whatever, but like you're allowed to riff off people's ideas and do funnies. You're allowed to like poke fun at people. I mean, isn't that what like South Park does all the time? Isn't like the whole thing with South Park with like doing like Mickey Mouse bits, or to go to another thing to make fun of Disney real quick? Like the whole point of like Shrek to a degree was to like be a parody of their basic uh or ideas for like the Renaissance movies. Was to be exactly the opposite of that, and having like older fairy tale creatures, like you literally have Pinocchio in the first movie and whatnot. It's just like I think there's like a Tinkerbell moment or something. From what I remember from the movie, and it's just like why is like I feel like people don't really think about it. It's like it's okay to do that, especially to specifically a larger company, right? Like you should be allowed to do that with a larger company. I would say hold off on that from like smaller companies because there's no reason to be doing that to smaller companies unless you're doing like a inside joke with each other. But like it's gotten like really out of hand as to how to really view this because currently no AI art has been confirmed. Currently it's just ripping off designs, but like again, that shouldn't be viewed as an evil thing to do. Obviously, of course, work went into those initial Pokemon designs. I'm not gonna like say don't respect artists from Pokemon. They still put a lot of work in, but you're allowed to do stuff with that. You're allowed to play off those designs a little bit if you really want to. That shouldn't be like okay, pretend that little graphical thing there was not there. But yeah, so now we got a lot of people defending Pokemon, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, Scarlet Violet close to it was to being a good game. It really wasn't. It was kind of a pretty mid experience. It mainly due to the fact that the game was built like 40% of the way. Like it does not feel like a finished game the majority of the time. And the performance only got worse through each of the DLCs, which doesn't help. You see like room markers with like the random Pokeballs in some rooms in Scarlet Violet. The freaking sandwich animation. Like what the hell? The fact that there's no real like inside of shops or buildings or anything. The and just the performance of the game is so bad. And I feel like if you just fix those at minimum would fix it. Like I don't think you need to really like go crazy and add more. Maybe just like a transition when you go inside to a building, like a proper one. Um that isn't just like, oh, you're in a menu now. Ha. Like I feel like all that could have been fixed in like the span of like what, maybe 6 months. Just make sure you play tested to make sure it wasn't broken to hell and was optimized in a more efficient way. I feel like that's very doable, and that just didn't happen because Game Freak gives development team like 2 weeks to make these games at this point. It's like what the hell? Like you need to actually give your game developers, your artists, your whole team needs like actual time to make a good game so that you can continue profiting off that game. At the end of the day, the game is what builds the foundation for all the other products, all the other things here and there that really rake in the money. And if you don't make it to where people can really enjoy the current generation, it's just like you're you're losing that ability to make it marketable. Sooner or later, you're gonna be looking like Yu-Gi-Oh with the way you're trying to just sell just nostalgia for the sake of it. But that's getting off topic. It's supposed to be about Palworld. And Palworld is admittedly pretty lazy, but was also made by an indie developers. It was made with like I think a budget of like what $5 million or something. Like barely any money. They had to like switch halfway through to Unreal Engine or Unreal 4 from whatever engine they were using beforehand, with no one on the team who knew how to use Unreal 4. Ah, there's an issue with the guy, the CEO of the little company that made Palworld, and he's a bit of one of those guys, one of those NFT bro dudes, AI, very AI pilled and all that, which is pretty cringe. One of the two reasons of why I myself will not be playing it. The other being is that I don't have money to buy it. But regardless, I don't want to support that guy that's in charge of everything. That doesn't sound like my cup of tea. But the game itself hasn't had any real evidence of AI properly being used at all in it. So, with that in mind, I think it's okay for people to play it um, until it's kind of shown otherwise. Because AI art obviously is very not to say at the very least, for a variety of reasons. All right, time to talk about slavery. Um, yeah, so you can capture people. I guess that's like a thing as a mechanic. The game oh, it's not a and that's a pretty inhumane thing to actually capture people in the land of Palworld and what have you. But you shouldn't actually do that. But yeah, you should capture people. I think you can uh like you can like sell the pals, and I think you could technically sell the bandits you catch as well. It's pretty sus. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty sus. And that's another very good reason to not want to play the game. It's kind of like, oh, but it's also very much making fun of itself in a lot of silly ways, from what I saw. And I guess getting to the whole point of why I felt like I needed to make a statement at all with this, um, is that there was like two particular tweets. One of them is like a clip of asmongold, uh, freaking forehead with legs, out here freaking looking at this in like the worst possible way ever of like, yeah, well, artists' opinions don't matter. Consumers will buy it because it's fun and that's it. When it's just like, yeah, sure, consumers bad sometimes, but we should be working harder to make sure artists' opinions do matter rather than be complacent in the fact that they don't do that. We should be upset by that and do more to make sure that isn't a problem. I think that matters a lot. Like, this is why you get like actors and writer strikes and whatnot for this exact reason. Those did last a while, last I checked, and were kind of relevant for just a little while. Um, so that stupid opinion really got me real worked up because it's just like, why would you look at it through that angle? Why would you decide to do that? And earlier in that in said clip, it's just like he's like, "Oh, we're gonna play the actual one made with AI too while we're at it." And it's just like, huh? What are you saying? Freaking fart! Like, what the hell? Like, be a respectable person, or at least try to. It's not even like we're telling you to like make a really tough decision. It just be supportive of artists. That's not hard to do. But regardless, this game's selling very well. Game's gonna probably continue to sell well, at least a little while. And I luckily didn't make this like a couple days sooner, because we actually got some feedback from Game Freak or Nintendo. I don't remember the tweets right next to me, making me look like an idiot, but there was a response about it, and they're looking into it to make sure that the assets weren't actually used from the games or any of the direct art. Or well, I guess that not the direct art specifically, but like yeah, the assets. As long as the assets weren't directly taken, as this one tweet that tried to convince us that they did, because no, that they did a lot of stretching and manipulating of those models to make sure they lined up correctly, when in reality they didn't. But it's not like they're that far off. I'm not gonna pretend like they did like crazy edits to them, but they still edited it to make it look more in the favor of and just directly stealing assets, because that is an issue. You could work off the ideas of designs, but you shouldn't be just taking the assets directly to be used without permission. That is a oh spaghettio, because those are assets that are properly owned and like trademark and stuff or whatever. Um, regardless, um, like it's weird how much direct negativity people are having towards this, but we haven't gotten anything. Like, it's such a large amount of people that are like, grr against this game when there isn't any evidence to immediately do that outside of being mad at the CEO, which you could do, and that's what I'm doing. I'm choosing not to get it because of that, but I'm not gonna like pretend that like, oh, I'm not getting it just because like it's totally made with it when we have no idea. We haven't proven anything. Nothing's out there yet. But I think people are allowed to play it. I don't want this isn't like looking at something like the Hogwarts Legacy thing from before, where there's a very clear wrong answer here because you are very much just saying, yeah, sure, keep supporting her and her actions of doing really bad things to trans people. Like really, really bad things. Where here it's like there's no real evidence of anything outside of the owner being a bit of a dingus. I'm not gonna play it, but I'm not getting mad at anyone for playing it. I think as of now, it's at least one one little thing that can be seen as like, oh, something to actually make Game Freak pay attention maybe a little and try to maybe reconsider the way they're going about things. If they haven't already with the way that Scarlet and Violet has been. Even though it's sold extremely well, there's a lot of negativity towards these games. And I hope with something like Palworld, it puts more pressure to do better. Like, actually try to make the next generation Pokemon games. Maybe give them, like, a couple years. Heck, give them 3 years. Give them 3 years to work with. No new Pokemon until they actually have a game finished. That looks really good, and hopefully they also don't use this in a way that makes them regress into, like, or move away from the open world. I think the open world part is really good. I think there just needs to be more to it. I think it needs to be designed in a way that isn't going to make it cringe as hell with it not working because you don't know how to optimize your or you don't give enough time to optimize your game and haven't somehow fixed that issue from all this time. And make DLC that's like worth it because admittedly the first DLC was really not worth it from what I've been informed. Outside of like a competitive aspect. Second one had at least the thing where you could become a Pokemon, move around and whatnot, so it was okay. I think that's pretty much everything I had on my mind, really. Um, I think just the fact that you can riff on ideas, you can poke jabs at bigger companies, you can do all that. Just don't actually steal stuff. Don't be using AI stuff to steal stuff. And be mindful of what you're supporting still. But also don't criticize someone for wanting to have fun when they aren't doing anything bad and the thing they're getting isn't inherently bad. Or at least have no at least not with any real evidence of it doing any real harm. And Asmongold's kind of a dummy. That was honestly the big thing. I was just really upset and wanted to say that. That was just so. I I think that's it. Um, I guess we put an outro here at this point. Yeah. Um, this was Tech. I'm gonna try to keep making more videos. Thank you for all the support so far. I saw that there's a lot of love for the two-player set from the Konami one, and I hope you make sure to check out my other videos, like the Celeste video and the Isacraft videos, which I'll be making that next. That'll be the next thing. I'll get back to that, and then maybe make other videos too. Hopefully, I'll do like twice a week. But anyways, this was Tech, and I hope you all have a good one. Toodles. Baby da bop.